Ever wonder if you could build your own TV station out of junk? Well, deep in the Ozarks, a legend named Zero did just that, and it's a core part of what we call Ozark's Futurism. This isn't about high-tech labs. It's a scavenger sale of bringing a signal to life in the bull. Shoals Hills using nothing but discarded electronics and a whole lot of ingenuity. This is the story of how that first signal hit the airwaves. It all starts with the heart of the station, the RF modulator. Think back to the 1990s. Every VCR, every early Nintendo or Sega console had one of these little magic boxes inside. Its job was simple. Take the video and audio from those red, white, and yellow RCA cables and turn it into a signal your old analog TV could understand. Usually on channel 3 or 4. Zero didn't buy one. He ripped it straight out of a VCR someone had thrown away. The original design was meant to send that signal just a few inches down a coaxial cable to your TV. But Zero had bigger plans. He needed to modify it, to break it free and let that tiny signal whisper into the open air. Of course, a whisper isn't going to reach very far. A standard RF modulator signal is incredibly weak, practically non-existent. To turn that whisper into a voice that could travel across a holler, or even just a few blocks, Zero needed to amplify it. This is where the real scavenging genius comes in. He started hunting for old analog signal boosters. You know, the kind of thing people used to use to boost a weak cable TV signal in a big house with lots of splitters. He didn't just use one. He chained several of them together. Each one would take the weak signal, give it a little kick, and pass it on to the next. Like a bucket brigade of electrons, each amplifier added a little more power, nudging the wattage up just enough to become a viable pirate broadcast. Now you have a signal, but how do you power it? The electrical grid in the Ozarks can be unreliable, and a true futurist plans for self-sufficiency. So the power supply for this whole setup was another masterpiece of salvage. Zero rewired the amplifiers to run off anything he could get his hands on. We're talking old car batteries he'd charged up, or repurposed power bricks from discarded office equipment like printers and big, chunky monitors from the 90s. This wasn't just about being resourceful. It was a tactical choice. It meant the station could keep broadcasting its strange messages, even if a storm knocked out the power for miles around. It was a truly independent, off-grid operation, humming away on borrowed power. With the signal boosted and powered, there was one last crucial piece of the puzzle, the antenna. A commercial broadcast antenna costs a fortune, but Zero built his from literal household trash. The materials were whatever he could find. Lengths of copper wire pulled from old appliances, metal clothes hangers bent into specific shapes, and for the reflector, the part that directs the signal, he even used a discarded aluminum pizza pan. It sounds crazy, but it's pure radio science. The real trick was in the tuning. He had to do the math. By carefully cutting the wire elements to specific lengths, he could match the antenna's properties to the frequency of an unused UHF channel he found on the dial, maybe channel 22 or 37. This precise tuning ensured that every last drop of that junk energy he cobbled together was pushed out in one direction, over the trees and into the night. So the entire transmission system, the modulator, the amplifiers, the power, the antenna is pure, unfiltered 1990s analog tech. It's a ghost of a bygone era, brought back to life with a soldering iron and some grit. But what about the content? This is where the past meets the future. The broadcast itself is managed by 2026 technology. To bridge this gap, Zero built a custom interface. He used a simple Raspberry Pi, or sometimes just the motherboard from an old laptop, to act as a go-between. This little computer takes digital files, music, pre-recorded segments, and most importantly, the synthesized voice of the AI known as Bro, and feeds them directly into the RF modulator's old-school RCA inputs. This setup creates a continuous automated loop. It allows the station's hosts, the Ghost DJ and the AI Bro, to broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once the system is powered on, Zero doesn't have to touch a single button. The junk hardware does its job, pushing the signal out, while the modern software endlessly generates the content. It's a perfect fusion of old and new. By taking these forgotten pieces of consumer history, the guts of a VCR, the wires from a coat hanger, and giving them a new purpose, Zero created something powerful. He proved that the spirit of broadcast, that hum in the air, doesn't need $1 million tower or a corporate budget. All it really needs is a soldering iron, a bit of knowledge, and the courage to send your voice out into the dark. This is the essence of Ozark's futurism. It's not about waiting for the future to be delivered to you in a shiny box. It's about building it yourself from the pieces of the past that everyone else has left behind. It's a reminder that technology is a tool, and with enough creativity, even the most overlooked junk can be made to speak again. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this dive into the technical mythos of the Ozarks, be sure to subscribe for more stories from the fringes. See you next time.